All right, guys, I just want to talk to you a little bit about putting quotes into your text correctly. This can be tricky, so it's really better explained to you. I'm just going to open a document in Word, another document in Word, I should say. And there are a couple of rules you want to go by when inserting a quote into your text. One is obviously you have to copy the quote word for word as it is in the original text. Secondly, you have to sort of introduce a quote. You can't use a quote by itself as a sentence. So create, and I really mean write some kind of introduction or segue, and this can just be a couple of words to set off your quote. I'm going to show you an example of that in just a moment. And then lastly, you've got to include a citation at the end. You have to put information in parentheses telling me where this came from. Parenthetical means in parentheses. So include a parenthetical citation at the end of your quote. So if you were to do that, we're just going to use a real example. I haven't even written an example yet because I wanted you to see all the steps that I go through to do that. So I just Googled, my favorite topic to go to is fruit bat because you're probably not going to write a paper on it. But I'm going into bat worlds and I'm looking at fruit bats. Okay. And you probably don't want to include information this vague, like the fruit bat falls into the category of megabat, and sometimes they are called the flying fox in some locations. That's very vague, and there's just no reason to quote it. You really want to quote something that is very specific or extremely well worded that you feel like you can't paraphrase on your own. So let's find some information down here. Okay, so this is a good one. They have large eyes, and they also have excellent vision. We also have another one down here with even more specific information. They're a big type of bat, and they're said to be among the most unique of more than 1,200 species that have so far been identified. When you're finding information and putting quotes, this takes time. So you're going to have to go through and find information to put in a quote. I don't like either of the two things that I just read. Let's go down to, ooh, look at this about their tongues. I like that. So they also have very long tongues that unroll when they are feeding. When they aren't eating, the tongue rolls back up. It's tucked away internally around the rib cage rather than remaining in the mouth. Oh, that's gross and really cool. Okay, so I'm going to choose, they also have very long tongues that unroll when they're feeding. And I'm just literally going to copy this. You can copy it by right-clicking on it and clicking on copy. There's also a short key on your keyboard. Control-C will copy text. So that's a little faster if you want to use Control-C. So I'm going to go back to my Word document. And I'm just going to paste that in here so that I have it. I'm actually going to retype it. And the reason I'm going to do that is to make sure I don't accidentally copy some sort of weird formatting from the website. But I also have to introduce this quote. So I'm going to say, let's go back and see what our little website was called. App Worlds. Okay. So let's go in here and we're just going to say, according to the popular website, App Worlds, that tells us where this information came from. And it tells us that we're about to give information that we found somewhere. And that's what a research paper is. It's finding information and portraying it correctly to your audience. So according to the popular website Bat Worlds, they also have very long tongues that unroll when they are feeding. Okay, we're not going to put a period just yet because, as you know, your period goes after your parenthetical citation. So we're going to go ahead and end our quote, and then we're going to start to put in information that we would get from our citation, or that we would get from our source. So let's go back to our website. We're going to look for an author, of course. We don't have one. So this says posted by Batworlds, but that is not an author. An author has to be a human being. So since we don't have an author, we're going to use the title of the article, which is Fruit Bat. So let's go back into our Word document, and we're going to call this Fruit Bat. And if it's a title of an article, it goes in quotation marks, and then it goes in parentheses because it's a citation. Hopefully you remember this from last semester. If you were to do your works cited, you would look for an author first, but when you couldn't find one, you would use the title of the article right here. Okay, and then we would put Bat Worlds, we would italicize that, which is the title of the website, and then we would see if there's a sponsor, we would put in a link, we would put in the date, all of those other things that go into your works cited page. So now we have our quote, according to the popular website Bat Worlds, and we should italicize that. They also have very long tongues that unroll when they are feeding. If you don't like this word they, because it's not clear about who they refers to, you can actually do a couple of things. You can put bats over here and take out they, so that your sentence reads, according to the popular website Bat Worlds, bats also have very long tongues that unroll when they are feeding. So you can do that. That's one way you can correct that. Or let me go back and show you our original one more time. This is our original. Or you can take out they, and you can use square quotes to add the word bats. That way your reader knows what they is referring to, but when you put in these square brackets is what they're called. When you put in square brackets, that means that you changed a word just so the audience would know what you were talking about. So there are a couple of ways to fix that. If you're not comfortable doing either of those, try to find a quote that you don't have to doctor up and just work with the quote that you have, okay? So I'm hoping that helps you understand. This is the segue or introduction. It can be simple. It can be as simple as, according to John Smith of the Bat Conservatory of Science. You know, if you had information from a John Smith from the Bat Conservatory of Science, then you could add that in before your quote. But I like starting a quote with according to and telling me where it's coming from. That's just a good way to start a quote if you want to do it that way. You might also say, I can't think of any other examples right now. According to is just a really good starting point if you're uncomfortable with adding segues. Okay, I hope that helped you a little. I know putting quotes in text can be confusing. I did include this information in your discussion. Your discussion this week is to share your quote with the class and help each other out with formatting those, okay? All right, remember that if you get this, I'm going to show you one more thing, sorry. Let's go and find, this is going to help you too. Let's go into Google. If you're having trouble finding good sources, go into advanced search, not advanced search Twitter, but advanced search, Google advanced search, and you can put in fruit bats, and then you can scroll down here to site or domain and put .edu, and that will only give you educational websites, which means your websites are going to be a lot more valid than a .com website. Click on advanced search, and see that gives us fruit bat information from the Smithsonian. The Smithsonian is awesome. So let me click on the Smithsonian. All right, so here we've got some really great stuff from the Smithsonian. Let's go back and click on, oh, here's a Florida wildlife website. That's a really good website too. I would like to find one with an author just so that I could give you information about how to do a citation with an author. Oh, here's one. Okay, Lisa, wow, that's a fun name. Schneering. All right, so let's find a quote real quick. Let's use this one. Okay, I'm going to click copy. I'm going to go back to Word. I'm going to paste this in, and I'm going to say, where were we? Let's look at where we were. We were at the University of Minnesota. News editor from the University of Minnesota. Center for Infectious Disease. Let's use that. Center for Infectious Disease Research and Policy. So according to the Research Center for Infectious Disease and Policy in Minnesota. Is that where we were in Minnesota? I can't spell Minnesota. That's another thing. If Word gives you a squiggle underneath a word that is red, you can right click on it and then go click on the correct word and it will fix it for you. Hopefully you already knew that trick, but you know, if nobody tells you these things, you just don't know them. So yeah, University of Minnesota. In the University of Minnesota. So that's a nice segue. So then we have our quote, which we've put up here for convenience. The animals, what are we talking about? We're talking about bats. So I'm going to go ahead and put bats. And then I'm going to start my quote here at shed. You can do that. You can start a quote in the middle of a sentence. All you have to do is put 3 little dots. The bats shed the virus in their saliva urine, really, feces and feces as they feed on fruit. Okay, and we got this from the lady with the interestingly pronounced name, Schneering. So we have one up here for a source that doesn't have an author. And if you use an author, you just put their last name and you do not put it in quotation marks, okay? All right, I think that was long enough. Hopefully that will help you. And shoot me an email if you have any questions. Have a great day.